Well, hello, y'all. Welcome. So we are counting down to Passover, which starts sundown Wednesday night. And so some of the big things to prepare if you are just lightly observing, if you're not going to do the whole Seder plate, which if you were interested, you're like, man, maybe I do want to participate in Passover. You can go to the onehouse.kabbalah.com. Yes, that's where you would sign up for the membership. They have a separate website that's Kabbalah, the KabbalahCenter.com or Kabbalah.com, and it's their on-demand master classes that they have just come out with recently. But if you wanted to take the classes through the center that are Zoom classes and interactive that are they start every 10 weeks, then you would go to onehouse.kabbalah.com. And you have the option to either pay for the courses, each one you take, which are $150 for a 10-week course usually. But I just pay the monthly membership of $49.99. It's always worth it to me because I'm constantly taking classes with them. But you can stream holidays, and I believe that holidays, the big major ones, are always pay what you can. But you would, and the website's kind of confusing to navigate because there's so much. There's so many options because they have so many locations around the world. So there's different broadcasts in different languages. But you'll be looking for the New York or the East Coast broadcast with Monica and Michael Berg. And they might have on the front page of the website, Passover Seder or whatever. So you're going to look in the search bar if you don't just see an immediate link to it. You can go to events. There's holidays and events and classes. So you would look for holidays or events and classes, but if there's a holiday button, go to the holiday button, and then look for Passover Seder East Coast broadcast. And so that will be happening on Wednesday at sundown. And that will be a several hour event. And that will be the night where you will do the Seder plate and the Seder meal. And so you can do an easy Google search. I have the Haggadah right here. Couldn't grip it. Slipping out of my hands. Let's see. The Seder plate, you will need should have a picture of the plate. Okay, so here you can see the order of where you would put the foods on the plate. They're here, and then their correspondences with the Spirit. And you can pause that and write it down if you need to. And so the foods are bitter herbs, which is basically a big old bite of horseradish that you chew up. So I just get like a jar of horseradish from the condiment section. And then you will have a shank bone. So I usually get lamb chops and I slow roast those, and I use one of the lamb bones for that. And then a fruit blend. This fruit blend, I don't have the official recipe for it, so it represents the mortar. What I usually do is apples and walnuts are one of the key ingredients. So I'll usually do a baked apple style. So I'll chop up my apples and do cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, and stuff like that, and sugar, and then a little red wine, and then the walnuts, and cook them down until they're soft. So that's what I do for my fruit blend, but there is, maybe you can do a search for the specific fruits, but there's so many fruits that I'm like, I'm not a millionaire. I can afford like one fruit per month. Like, it was like the Victorian times where people had 1 hour off a week and they went to have a hot dog at like the boardwalk. Okay, so then we have the lettuce. So I usually get like a head of romaine. And you use the lettuce as like a vehicle to eat some of the things, the different things. They all have representative meanings, but we're not going to go into this. You could go on for hours to prepare for Passover. Then you will have a bunch of parsley. You dip the parsley in salt water, which represents the tears of the Israelites. And it's morbid, but I love it. So, and I usually use like King David's kosher salt for that. You can get all these in like the little kosher food aisle. Usually is like kosher salt is there, and they have like kosher honey. So I put some kosher honey in my fruit blend. And then a hard-boiled egg, and the center just says Seder plate. So the egg, the horseradish, the lamb bone, ham bone, the fruit blend, the lettuce, and the parsley with the salt water, with the King David salt. So that would be your grocery list that you would need. And also 4 glasses of wine, which if you're sober, you can use grape juice. And so if you are streaming this through the live feed, you would want to slow roast your lamb or whatever you're going to have with that, just so you know, because it's going to go on for hours before you start eating the foods. And then once you start eating the foods, that kind of takes a really long time too. But it's worth it every year. The deeper and more like effort you put into the connection, it's like that particular night, the Passover night, is like the most intense, direct connection with the light of the blessing of the Creator for the whole year. It's like every negative thing about you is like outshined by the light on that day. And so the idea is to be in the presence of that light. And even though like you're not going to carry it through all the way to the next day, like you're like, you know, the last night I was talking about how like I'll come out of like Rosh Hashanah, like, oh my God, what a beautiful 4 days of ritualing. And then like 5 minutes later at the store, I'm already losing my temper. But like, you will still have the residue of the light. So the stronger your connection, the more like into it you are, and the more sincere, the more effort you make to make that connection, the better the residue that gets stuck on you, that carries out over the year, and it stays with you, so that when you come up against challenges through the year, you have this bank of strength to draw from that you connected with on the Passover. So there's more going on than just that night. So leading up to the Passover feast, the idea is that you want to go through your house and clean it very deeply. But the main key is that you're wanting to get rid of every breadcrumb, every trace of bread or grain in the house. So you're getting under couch cushions, you're looking anywhere there would be bread. And so it's like a good day to do like a deep clean, and then like go the extra mile to make sure everything like bread related is out of the house. So go through your cabinets and your refrigerator, make sure there's no like beer or whiskey or bourbon. I've got to put like my scotch out in the car with my bag of like all my grains and everything. You want to get rid of all your like pastas, rice, you know, I guess, I don't know. I don't think beans are in the category, but like, I don't know. All my dried beans are in a container with my grains anyway. So all that stuff's going outside. But it's like, I think it wasn't like controversial. It wasn't like a do beans count. I think it was does rice count. And I just include the rice too. So you're going to refrain from eating any of that all week long until Passover is over. And it's like 7 or 8 days. You can look at the calendar or look it up on Google and it'll tell you when Passover ends. And so, You clean out your house. Technically, it's not supposed to be in your car. You need to get it off of your property and out of your possession, but I have nowhere to put these groceries. So I do my best. I put them in the back of my car, and you're not supposed to eat any of these grains all week long. So you refrain from any barley, wheat, grain. So remember, no beer, no like fermented drinks like that where it's made from like grain or barley, no scotch. And you've cleaned your house, you abstain from losing my words. You abstain from partaking of any of these like foods, and you make sure they're not in your house. Last year, I almost forgot and brought in a bunch of leftover biscuits from work. It was like one of the last days, and I like spaced, and I left them in the car. It was like the angels helped intercede, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And I remember I almost forgot and brought them in, but like somehow, like when I stopped in my driveway, like the box like flew out into the floorboard and all the biscuits spilled, and it was just like over dramatic for like, because I just like gently stopped in the driveway, and all of a sudden it was like the biscuits just threw themselves out of the box. So the angels intervened and did not let me eat the biscuits. They threw them in my floorboard, thank God. So yeah, sometimes I slip up and I forget that like what's going on. So I'm around all this food at work. So you're going to want to withstand. And so the more like thoroughly that you put that effort into cleaning and abstaining from the grains and the leavened bread through the week, the more power is added to your connection, the more you like hold on to that light. And and while you're cleaning too, it's like what you're doing is you're doing a physical action that represents the spiritual process that's happening. So you're also thinking about the negativity in yourself that you're purging and cleansing, and restricting. So instead, in lieu of the bread, you would eat the matzah cracker. And the matzah cracker, during this week and this week only, like it is infused with this particular power, because over the course of this week, it's like this window, this cosmic window of time and space is open, allowing a particular quality of light coming through from the upper realms. So on a normal week, matzah cracker is just matzah cracker. But during Passover week and during the Seder meal, the matzah cracker is activated into like a spiritual technology, a spiritual tool. And it's miraculous and it's healing, and it's like miracle bread. So the more you eat, the better. Like you'll eat the assigned pieces during the dinner, during the ritual, but you can eat it through the week with the intention that it is going to help you heal either like a physical ailment or healing like something in your personality that you're trying to overcome. I know that my hostility levels have been up really high, and so I've been trying to exercise those demons throughout the Lent and through the preparations of Passover. And when you ask God for help, like if you ever pray for patience, God help you, because you're not going to just become a more relaxed person. You're going to have a lot of irritating things happen to you. So you'll build the muscle of patience. So yes, a lot of things have been happening recently that have really tickled my hostility and my feminine rage. So I thought it was interesting too that tonight I had a table that like didn't tip me on like a $200 check. So that's like $40 that I'm down. And that's like a chunk of groceries. Like when people are like, oh, it will make a difference. Like it makes a difference. That's my soap, lotion, or like coffee stuff, like milk for coffee. Like, I mean, like it adds up. So, I think that I noticed that I didn't get enraged over this or like super like pissed off. Like I did go tell my manager, I was like, these people didn't tip me at all on this check. And the thing is, like it was like two couples together, and they split the check in half. And so one couple tipped like the $40 on the 200, and the other couple tipped $0, line through the thing. And so either they were those people that just never tip, and that's just how they roll, which is stealing money from someone, because the server has to tip out all of the bartenders, the WAs that help run food and like clear the tables and everything, and the hosts. Like we have to tip out each one of these people according to our sales, not like how much money we make and then we give them a little bit. It's like that comes out of our sales, the percentage of our sales. So it's like hits you twice. It's like you're not only like not getting that money, but you're still having to like pay out of your other tips to cover like their service fee for the other people on staff. So really sucked. But I told my manager there's nothing we could really do about it, because he was like, if they had only tipped, like if it was just one check, then we could pretend like they thought that maybe it was like built in, and we could call them and ask them if they just didn't realize. But because there was one check that had tipped and the other one didn't, it's like, it seems like either they purposefully didn't do it and we're going to be too obvious about calling them out on it, or maybe the other couple were like, we'll get the tip, but then they didn't tip any extra than just on their half of the check. Like that's another thing too, is that I know some people are like, this is a good enough tip, right? Because they start getting uncomfortable about tipping 20% once they spend a few $100s on a meal. But the thing is, it's like you have to tip 20% at least, because otherwise it's coming out of the server's pocket to pay the other staff. So long story. But anyway, I was proud or not too proud, but like I realized, I was like, oh, I'm not enraged, and I'm PMS this week really bad. It's not PMS, it's not it's like during menstrual ferociousness. And I realized, I was like, oh my God, you guys, I'm not totally hostile right now. I was like, is Lent helping? Am I finally being transformed? So I thought that was nice. But anyway, that'll give you some preparation for Passover in case you want to participate. So onehouse.kabbalah.com, look for the Passover broadcast for East Coast with Monica and Michael Berg. That's the one you'll want. And you can pay $1 probably or whatever, but more than likely it'll just be like pay what you can. All right, let's get into our cards. So our weekly lessons started off the week with honestly a nod to the beginning of Passover, which I'm excited. So we've got the fault line, followed by the vision, followed by venom, but then, hold on to your seats, folks, we have nectar, right? It's almost like the anecdote for the victim, the venom. Underneath fault line, we have the lovers. Underneath vision, we have 6 of Cups. And underneath venom, we have Ace of Cups. But I feel like the nectar card is kind of attached to, like, I feel like these 3 were like kind of like, they felt like they went together. All right, so I'm going to let y'all listen to the quick audio so you can see the layout, and then we'll come back and unpack. Every festival, Shabbat, and holiday that we celebrate in the Jewish tradition is in memory of the Exodus from Egypt. Egypt is a code word for that which enslaves us, namely the ego and the desire to receive for oneself alone, or even the desire to receive instant gratification over long-term value and fulfillment. Egypt cuts us off from our connection to the light of the Creator. It is our consciousness that strengthens our proximity and connection with the light, or severs this connection. We are at a pivotal turning point in humanity. The pressure from our opponent's force is all too real. The entire system seems to be hanging by a thread, from the environment to the economy to human rights to the preservation of democracy to human survival, period. The pressure is closing in from all around, and it's creating anger, rage, condemnation, frustration, and bitterness. Even the strongest hearts are fighting the temptation of falling into hopelessness and despair. This is seeping venom into the collective spirit, which is cutting us off from our connection to God. The Spirit of God can only draw close to that which bears affinity with it. With every breath, we have to remember that God is our Hashem, our Elohim, who brings us out. Our God will deliver us from evil. Therefore, it is vital that we guard our hearts with all vigilance from the darkness and poison that wants to take hold of us. Our victory and liberation will come through acts of love and unity and sharing. The fight is not outside of us, but within ourselves to protect our light and our connection with God. This world feels like it could crumble to pieces at any minute. It is only the rebellion of goodness that holds it all together. So the fault line card, it like denotes tense circumstances, right? What happens when we have an earthquake, right? Earthquakes are on fault lines where tectonic plates meet. And when the pressure underneath those tectonic plates starts building, those tectonic plates start shifting. And if too much pressure builds, we have an earthquake, right? When Jesus was discussing the end of the age that would eventually come, he talks about the birthing pains showing up, and he talks about wars and earthquakes and famines. And he was like, these will be the birthing pains of the beginning of, this age of the beginning of the end of the end. Although we don't know when that day is coming. But every now and then, there's like a cyclical pattern where humanity, when they are ready for evolution, they come up against a time of great pressure, and where things begin to collapse, and we have to rebuild and renew and restructure and build new paradigms. And so we're really in this moment right now. It's like this pressure cooker of tense circumstances all over the world. It feels like everything could just crack and crumble into pieces at any minute. But the whole paradigm, right, is just like hanging by a thread. Everything from the environment to our natural resources, human dignity, human survival, human liberty and freedom and human rights are at stake. And the democracy itself is hanging by a thread. Everything is sort of like hanging in the balance right now. So what card do we have underneath is the Lovers. The Lovers is not necessarily a card that says, hey, you're going to have a new lover soon. It's really about choosing a path. And it's like when we're on the path and it comes to a Y in the road, like a split, and you can go this way, you can take this path, or you can take that path. So it's like we have to choose as a soul. Are we choosing the path of mercy, or are we choosing the path of judgment? Are we choosing the path of love and sharing, or are we choosing the path of the ego that's reactive, that wants instant gratification, that wants to receive for the self alone? that wants to live off of the carnal base instincts, of dog eat dog world, like do whatever you can to survive, right? And so that's where we're at right now. That's where all the evil is prevailing, because the people in charge have gotten their power by stepping all over everyone and accruing and hoarding wealth for themselves. And so all of this greed and corruption and darkness is leading to all of these things finally breaking the dam, right? And so this is how we, navigate as a soul within ourselves through this life. It's like we have choices every moment of the day. We have a choice to make. We have a choice to make about which consciousness, which path we are going to entertain with our mind, with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our actions. Are we going to take the path of love and sharing and receiving for the sake of sharing with others, for the sake of lifting the world up and coming into harmony and unity and sharing so that everyone's taken care of and we all go into the paradise together, right? And you can see that this movement of we're not free until we're all free is just really taking off, and people are really starting to understand that this isn't just a nice concept or something flittery to say. It is literally the truth. When you see that the warmongering machine it's like the war machine is now just like, well, our style of dealing with the earth and getting what we want is just genocide after genocide. We're just going to take what we want and conquer and divide and conquer. And the human family is like seeing through this, and more people are waking up out of the stupor of the propaganda. And we are waking up to the truth. And so we are learning that it's up to us to choose as a collective to go down a different path. And so the mass of people on the planet, I think, are really wanting this. And we just have to get to a critical mass of people, right? Enough people have to wake up and start choosing this. And then it will be like the 100th monkey syndrome, where when you teach 100 monkeys a new skill, it's like suddenly the whole troop just naturally starts to understand how to do the thing. Sort of like herd immunity. So as an individual, every day we have to navigate our days thinking, okay, what am I choosing? What path am I choosing? What consciousness am I choosing to cultivate? Which thoughts am I choosing to cultivate? Am I choosing to hold on to the grudge and be pissed? Or am I choosing to ask God to help me let go of the grudge, even though I'm still pissed? But can you help soften my heart? Can you help me cleanse the venom away? So I do love the artwork in this deck, but with the Lover's card, I do miss the major arcana traditional Rider-Waite symbolism, because what it shows is Adam and Eve in the garden, or the masculine and the feminine. And Adam is looking at Eve. It's like the masculine is appealing to the feminine. The outer conscious mind is looking to the soul for guidance. How do you want to guide me? You, the soul, are connected directly to God's messengers. And in the artwork, Eve is looking up at the Archangel Raphael, representing the fact that the soul, the feminine, is in contact with the divine guidance and inspiration. So the soul is connected to the divine guidance and inspiration. And our logical mind, our mind of reason, our outer personality has to turn inward into connecting with the soul to be informed of what that divine guidance, divine inspiration is, where is leading us, right? So this is about making choices from the heart, making choices from love, making choices from integrity. And so we have to choose with all our hearts to try to build even just small pockets of unity and harmony where we can, right? Even if it's just loving the people around us even more. And, you know, making it your point at work to just try to cultivate unity and harmony at work. And at work is the hardest, right? Because there's always some person like eating salmon and warming it up in the microwave if you're an office person. You know, there's always like, especially in the restaurant industry, my God, what a great place to practice spirituality. Because there's always people that like won't pull their weight, and then you're having to pull the rest of the weight, and you're literally feeling the body pain over it. And like that's the hardest. It's like spiritual Olympics. Go get a serving job. You'll be humbled so fast. So we're here. We're choosing harmony. We're choosing unity. And even if it's only starting in local pockets, that unity will build strength, and it will begin to spread and go contagious, go viral, right? What I love, this next card, the vision, it literally reminds me of the promised land and Mount Sinai. Look at this mountain here. And I don't know if you can see because it's so tiny, but there's like this kind of like golden light coming from a depth of inside the mountain. It's like we can see a bit of the mountain is carved out, and it reveals that there's this cavern that has this warm light emitting out of it. And then in the picture, there's like a silhouette of a person. And so for me, and then look, there too is like this light, this like depth, this little seed of light. And it reminds me, it like feels like it's in like this womb, this belly here. Like, you know, when pregnant women hold their hands under their stomach, and it just feels like something is being born in this moment, and at this Mount Sinai. And when the Israelites were brought to Mount Sinai, where they met God for the first time, God spoke to them, and that's when the 10 utterances happened, the 10 commandments. The first thing he said is, I am your God. I am your God. I brought you out of Egypt. And it's the invitation of, hello, I'm not an abstract force somewhere. I see you. I cared about you. I came to get you out of that situation when you couldn't get yourself out of it. So hello, here I'm going to give you some things, guidelines to live by, even though you may not understand them in depth yet. This will help you live by the spiritual laws of the universe that will align you to be connected with me, where you can draw closer, right? Because when we understand the vibrational principles of the material realm and the quantum mechanics of it, you have to resonate with something on the same wavelength to draw close to it. Because otherwise, if it's not the same wavelength, if it's not the same frequency, vibration, there will be dissonance. It won't connect. It won't mesh. Like in that way attracts like. So in order to draw close to the Creator, and like to be invited up to Mount Sinai, right? Like Moses had to go through a process of preparing himself. All the Israelites couldn't just go up there, you know, and go visit God casually. It was like the highest, most prepared person was allowed in the presence of God. Moses was considered one of the greatest servants of God that ever existed because of his determination to seek more of his darkness out, to purify every day. Every day he thought, okay, he went through his day, how could I have been a better leader in this way? How can I have been more pure in this fashion? Like having more of a pure consciousness of love, of no motives, you know, no coercion, no manipulation, no anger. Like, how could I have done this better? And so the more that we eliminate our negativity and have God help us transform that, the closer we can draw, right? But the Bible tells us that the Shekhinah, the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of God, can't draw near to a place that lacks of joy, in a place of suffering, in a place of sorrow. Even the greatest sages, when they were in times of mourning and sorrow, they went through hard times in their life because they couldn't connect with their blessings, because they didn't have the joy and the fulfillment and the peace that would allow them that affinity with that spirit of God, the nurturing spirit like that. So we cultivate unity, we cultivate a sense of fulfillment, and we cultivate that light within us, and we cultivate the consciousness that bears the image of the Creator. The Creator is the cause, never the effect. We go around, we're affected by everything. Buy now while supplies last. Like everything is like affecting us. But when we are unaffected and we're not disrupted inside and we're not totally thrown off our game, then we're the cause. And then we become conscious co-creators. We become more effective manifestors when we're in cause consciousness. When the Creator, the Creator has builder consciousness, not destroyer consciousness. The Creator has giving consciousness, not taking consciousness. And there's nuance to this, because many times people can be giving, but their giving is actually taking, because they're doing it for a reason. Either because it gives them a sense of like validation or feeling important or needed, or, they get like a certain like feeling from it, or maybe they feel like if they don't give, they won't be accepted. So there's something attached to it. But when we can give freely because we just want to, then that is true sharing. So if we can cultivate the consciousness, make ourselves in the image of the Creator, then we draw close to the Creator, we connect with those blessings, right? But it's our consciousness that in any given moment can sever that connection or reestablish that connection. That's the grace of it, right? Because we are fools in our folly. So we're constantly short circuiting. It's like a wire with a short. Like our sound is in and out because we have a short in the wire, right? But we get it connected again, and then just as fast as we connect it is disconnected again, right? But the grace is that we can shift our consciousness. We're right back in it. The beauty and the comfort is that the light of God, that love, that sharing, that care is always emanating. It's always readily available. It's like God's always here. I'm trying to give to you. I'm trying to give to you. I'm trying to give to you. Reach out, open the vessel, open the vessel. So it's really up to us whether we can receive or not. And I love that the Six of Cups is paired with this card that totally reminds me of the Promised Land, because it's like the Promised Land is what? A vision given to Moses about the future of where they would arrive. And it's not just a piece of land that they would one day find and settle in, a home that was waiting for them, the land of milk and honey. It's a state of mind. It's just like when Jesus talks about the kingdom of heaven being within you. People get obsessed thinking this is a place, but it's a state of being within. It's a place that we arrive at through our soul's progression, our soul's transformation, the transformation of our consciousness. So we have this vision of where this beautiful place that we want to arrive at, and yet it is a mountain. A huge, unsurmountable task on our own. But God said, remember, I am your Hashem, your Elohim, the one who brings you out. And every holiday in the Jewish tradition and on the Jewish calendar, every Shabbat, every holiday, every festival, every feast that you celebrate and you observe is a remembrance of the Exodus, of being brought out of Egypt, being liberated from the illusion and the grips of the opponent on your mind, on your being, and you are set free, you're liberated from that which binds you. So every week, every holiday, there's like this blessed reminder that it's not that I am your Hashem who brought you out in past tense. It is brings, constantly bringing us out. And so the venom here is, it's like the path of the lovers, it's like we can go this way or that way. Well, we have a choice. We have the choice to let our bitterness build up and turn us to pickles. We often ask each other these like questions of the day at work, and today we were talking about which Robert De Niro character are you, but then a side question came up and we're like, what vegetable are you? And I was like, you know what? I'm a pickle. I'm a little bit sour. I'm shocking at first. I'm shocking to the palate, a little sour, a little salty, but eventually you start to crave me. And I can't be, it's like the best part of the sandwich. You need that crunch. So you can choose either to get caught in the bitterness, and then that venom will take you down. It will close off your vessel to receive blessings. It will close down your heart. You won't be able to perceive beauty. You'll just be too cynical. It happens to me. I go through this process every day, getting back to my joy, but I go through, some like just existential crisis in the morning with a little bit of sliding down the wall and weeping, and then I get a little bit stronger into a fiery anger, and it goes into a little bit of bitterness, and then eventually I'm a spark plug by the end of the day. So yeah, but it's like a practice, it's not just like a one and done. Sometimes you have to just keep at it with yourself, and sometimes it's a fight through the day to stay on the bright side, or to stay positive, or to stay optimistic or hopeful, right? It's so easy to have doubts, especially in these times, when every single, thing you hear is just like the news just gets worse and worse. It's like, I just read this thing where they were like, well, if you notice that the chocolate tastes like wax, it's because it basically is. 'Cause they're not putting cocoa powder in the chocolate because they don't want to pay Africa properly for the chocolate. It's like, are you serious? Are you really ruining chocolate now? Like, come on. Could you get your freaking dick out of the face of the earth, please? And then like there's like high like levels of like arsenic and like the chewy candy, so it's just like this is so like the fangs. Look at the animal fangs. Just get away from my chocolate. Do not fuck with my chocolate, okay? And so then we have to choose the nectar. Okay, I have to cultivate the sweetness. I have to cling to the sweetness of life, because that is the only thing that will continually renew me. Otherwise it's all too easy to fall into fear, lack, and doubt. And I love that, like, I can't remember which teacher broke this down once, but somebody through the Kabbalah Center, that they're pointing out that fear is a dread that what you have will be taken from you. Lack is like a scarcity mindset, that there's not enough, or you're not enough, or there won't be enough. But doubt is fear that you'll never get what you want. And I thought that was a perfect explanation and description of all of them. So we have to be mindful of that venom, that venomous consciousness, that venomous attitude that can really take us out. It can sever us from our blessing. And so one thing about tonight, I remember catching myself and saying, is this worth me severing my connection with God? Because that's who Amalek is in the Old Testament. Every time the Israelites would move somewhere, get settled for a minute, it was like Amalek was up in their face, trying to start a battle, trying to fight them, trying to annihilate them. Amalek, who's Amalek? The ego, the negativity, constantly trying to obliterate us, fight us. There's just one battle after another, isn't there? But is it worth? And then I heard this rabbi today talking about how, who's Amalek? Amalek separates us from our connection with God, with the Creator. So the venom is the thing that separates us from that ongoing connection. And if we can stay in an ongoing connection, then we can start building up momentum to actually start manifesting blessings through. I can't remember where heard this teaching, but it was like talking about how if you can stay in a state of unity for like 40 days, then it's like miracles will start flowing. I mean, Jesus went out to the wilderness for 40 days. But something about the 40 days, if you can maintain, like practice that restriction for 40 days, that discipline, that consciousness, then it would like unlock unforeseen potential. But 40 days is a big ask, isn't it? To maintain a state of consciousness. And I can't remember if the Israelites had a period of unity and harmony, but they didn't quite make it to the 40 days. Had they would have had everlasting life, and they would have been permanently in a state of miracles. So we come back every lifetime still trying to establish that state of miracles. Now, I remember last night I was talking about how the Israelites were delivered, like they didn't even know it was something to ask for to leave Egypt, right? It was something that was presented to them by God. God was like, I've had enough of you here. If you stay in this negativity any longer, you will never be able to be released from it. So they were getting it to the lowest state of negativity where they would have been trapped there forever. So God went in and intervened and pulled them out of Egypt. And what we were saying was that created bread of shame, meaning that they did not earn the consciousness, the state of consciousness. They didn't have the vibrational or the spiritual foundation to actually take that leap themselves, or to overcome that despair and take that act of faith. And so God helped them by pushing them out and kind of doing it for them. However, because they didn't do the work, they weren't like arriving to that point on their own, by their own accord. They didn't earn that exodus. They were given to it. They were given as a gift. But they could not maintain that same state of unity and faith for that full 40 days to achieve that everlasting immortality. So they fell back into like being afflicted and plagued and all of that. But at every lifetime, we are still coming back, trying to do that spiritual work that actually helps us leave Egypt, but leave for good, helping us awaken fully to the grip that our carnal flesh consciousness has on us, that egoic mind, to be finally free of it, right? So when we choose our process of transformation, when we do it proactively, we're working towards that. We're working towards earning our each step away from Egypt, right? God is there to help us. But if we don't earn it on our own, we just slide right back, right? So every year we're back, we're doing it again. We're trying to make steps, trying to make strides. None of us are perfect, obviously, so we haven't quite gotten it down yet, but we're a work in progress, and that's just perfect, and that's how we're supposed to be. So the nectar, if we can choose to practice that radical acceptance of embracing the process, but also accepting our imperfections, then this gives us it opens up a state of this emotional and spiritual rebirth and renewal. So, the more that we can embrace this connection through Passover, the more sincere our effort to clean the bread out of our house, to clean the ego out of our house, our soul house, and the more earnest we make that connection during the Passover Seder, then we're exposed to all that light, and the light sticks with us through the year to come, and it brings us more nectar, right? The land of milk and honey. The nectar is the sweetness that comes on the other side of transformation. It's that inner peace where we don't get our feathers ruffled anymore, and nothing's gonna disturb our peace, right? Like I'm annoyed that I didn't get that tip tonight, and it's disappointing, but I wasn't nearly as like fired up about as I could have been. And so getting closer and closer to that state of constant steadiness in our essence, right? When we're high, low, up, down, mad, pissed, happy, joy, mad, despair, cry, we're like flipping through the channels. We're all over the place. We're not effective manifestors in that state. And then if you're like me, you're like witnessing yourself like this and you're like, oh, I gotta get a hold of myself. And then it's even harder, right? But when we cultivate that transformation, and God helps us truly change over time when we ask, and it doesn't always take time. Sometimes it's immediate. Sometimes it's like, I had a breakthrough, right? But when God helps us make that exodus out of Egypt and we truly transform, then, as we come up against life's challenges, we're able to sustain our peace through it. We can hold our peace, and we might even be able to hold our joy through, life's challenges as well. So it becomes more sturdy, more stable, and we feel the protection and the presence and the closeness of the Creator. It's the nectar, and it brings us a sense of deep fulfillment and peace and a feeling of trust and safety. And you're like, wow, even if the worst happens, like, I know I trust the Creator's with me, and I will be brought out and brought through. All right, y'all, that is all for tonight. We will be back together tomorrow for our weekly manifestation message. And I'll be doing some cleaning for Passover tomorrow to prepare for Wednesday, and maybe go out and buy the last of my groceries I need for the Seder. And yeah, I'll see y'all after work. I probably won't be able to make a video before work tomorrow. If I do, it'll be a miracle. But if not, I will see y'all at the usual time. Oh, our little night show, our little tonight show. All right, ciao, peace.